and was asked to kind of fill in at the last moment, so I will apologize to the writer if I summarize it sort of sloppily, but our winner for the Lawrence B. Goodrich critical essay is Gillian Canavan, who is a Academic Achievement Award winner, a SLAB Outstanding Student nominee, and a double major in English and theater, and did a really fantastic performance of Sarah Bernhardt in Bernhardt Hamlet. So it's a pleasure to introduce Gillian. I will just say quickly, her essay is part of an increasing corpus of really interesting essays that I've seen in the last couple of years since Dr. Staples has been here on medieval studies. And her essay is a really interesting deconstruction and rereading of the man of law character in Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales. So she creates these kind of fascinating distinctions between biblical glosses and legal writing, which I found fascinating as someone in professional writing, and sort of argues that through the essay really problematizes the whole idea of textual glosses and textual interpretation as self-serving and potentially hypocritical.
Oh, thank you very much. I don't know, for sake of time, I may read some, summarize some, go back to reading, just so everyone gets their time here. But yes, my essay is entitled Glossed to Pale Perfection, The Mirror of Constance and the Man of Law's Tale, to attempt to unlock Christ's secrets in the Canterbury Tales. The pilgrims invented by Chaucer in his Canterbury Tales differ in their religious devotion, ranging from monks and prioresses to millers and cooks. The man of law is a figure who appears to bridge the gap between these groups, being a part of the legal system directly ties him to the clergy, who held the majority of power, but he is involved with the working class and handles secular issues, as his main concern in court is matters of property. He values the specificity of concrete texts, which he can interpret at his will in ways that serve him in court. Though the act of glossing was a popular method of studying biblical materials, instead of glossing a religious text, the man of law might gloss a legal text and use its perceived meaning to his advantage. Chaucer presents the dangers of a glossed text through the man of law's portrayal of Constance. Chaucer depicts Constance as the physical embodiment of a glossed text. She is vague in description, lacking specific details in appearance and even her speech, which is already limited. She acts as a mirror to everyone that looks upon her, and their perception is tailored to what they wish to derive from her text, or the concrete elements of her person. Throughout this tale, the man of law draws comparisons between himself and God. Chaucer intends to make the reader wary of the power of glossed texts, as they can trick men into thinking themselves close to discovering God's secrets, while excluding true meanings to allow room for their own fabrications. And the first point I make in this essay is about the man of law's description in the prologue. Chaucer has lines that say, discreet he was, a man to reverence, or so he seemed. So language like discreet and seemed breeds suspicion about his integrity. And the man of law claims to be more powerful and influential than he actually is. And Chaucer includes this detail in the prologue to encourage his readers to consider the story of Constance more critically with an awareness of the man of law's character. Also in the prologue, the value of the literal text is ironically emphasized in the man of law's character portrait and the prologue to his tale, considering how he utilizes glossing to facilitate his own gain. He does not enjoy condensing his speeches, even down to punctuation, as no one could pinch a comma from his script. However, he possesses strong opinions about the inclusion of incest in certain tales and cites Chaucer himself as the ideal example of how to avoid it. He simultaneously promotes the value of a text and the need for it to be complete, while finding reasons to ignore crucial elements of the story. And the tale of Constance is traditionally a tale of incest, and in cases such as these, the inclusion of incest alters the meaning of the story and can turn an immoral tale, or one with immoral elements, into a tale of morality. The incest between Constance and her father is excluded from this tale, and instead of her leaving home to escape him, she is taken to marry the Syrian Sultan after being advertised by traveling merchants on account of her beauty and goodness. While the incest is excluded from Constance's relationship to her father, the man of law implies its presence in the motivation of the Sultaness and Donegild. The two women seek to prevent their sons from marrying Constance, who they deemed a foreign creature. The sultaness is also afraid of her son giving up their ancient sacrifices, referencing actions taken by their ancestors, making them inherently tied to the family line from which they do not deviate through external unions. The women associated with incest are made villains because of how they intend to limit the expanse of the family's power and retain as much of it as they can for themselves. Their power is connected to the abominable and unnatural act of incest, justifying the man of law's aversion to it, though it most likely also relates to them being women. If Constance is free of such abomination, she can expand her family line and offer more power to the male heirs. Through his interpretation, the man of law compares the unnaturalness of incest with a woman who defies her natural place as obedient of male power. And throughout the man of law's tale, he describes these characters through rhetorical devices such as metaphors diminishing their human qualities. So he hides the literal in the figurative, which is a far more malleable medium. And glossing is something that depends on the given circumstances of the individual encountering the text. So if one reads the gloss, there is conceivably no way to reverse the process and pave the way back to the actual text. The figurative language employed by Chaucer in the Man of Law's descriptions demonstrate how glossed meanings become entirely accepted, because there is no way to know what words incited the metaphor. If you cannot know how exactly what is describing with the metaphor, you cannot determine its accuracy. In another section about Constance being the physical embodiment of a gloss, despite being the protagonist in the Man of Law's tale, Constance does not possess the specific aspects of a character, even in her own appearance, making her a physicalized version of a glossed text. It is technically her story and her text, as she is the one who undergoes the journeys and the trials of God and fortune. The Man of Law focuses on one of Constance's main features, which is her paleness. Her face is devoid of any expression and individual emotion, frozen over and acting as a mirror for those who see her. The Man of Law says, "She is the mirror of all courtesy, her heart the very chamber of holiness, her hand the minister to all distress. She is courteous and considerate of others, and universally adored because she is perfectly tailored to the idealizations and expectations of those she encounters. She automatically becomes who they intend her to be." The literal structure of a mirror offers insight into how she embodies a gloss text. A mirror is a reflective surface, normally outlined by a frame of some sort. A passage in a medieval Bible would appear as a block of text in the center of the page, the mirror, and the condensed writing of the gloss would surround it, constructing an ornate frame. It is the frame that then takes on the meaning and reflects the mirror of the text in cases. This line in the tale includes both her heart and her hand. Other parts of her body are described instead of making specific features of her face consider the center of the person, which is left blank. The aspect of translation also is involved in this because the Man of Law works with most likely the lower class individuals who wouldn't understand the Latin of the legal text, and it keeps him in a position of authority to continually increase his income and retain his clients. There are also gaps in time in the story, despite being one of the lengthier Canterbury tales, some of them more general, such as the years Constance drifts in the wandering bark steered by the hand of God, but the Man of Law addresses one in greater detail, the wedding night of Constance and King Allah. He described the suspension of holiness in order to consummate the marriage and says, "Her holiness, well, she must do without it, just for a little, and that's all about it." The singular night compared to the years she spends at sea does not seem to warrant abbreviation as far as the length of tale is concerned. However, it is meant to show the fluidity of Constance's character and the fluidity of a glossed text. She is essentially able to be dissolved into nothingness to avoid being stripped of her virginity. Constance becomes the malleable, figurative material that can be changed to appease the expectations of virginity within the tale, as well as the Man of Law's intentions in telling the tale. He ends the section with, "and that's all about that," meaning that he has offered everything that needs to be discussed and his listeners should be satisfied with it. His position of power within the field of law leads to his comparison between himself and God. He references the incompetency of humans to understand God's secrets, but through his glosses he believes he can interpret these secrets. The Man of Law claims that God has chosen instruments, as we well know, to work his purposes that darkly show to human ignorance our feeble sense grasps not the prudence of his providence. Similarly to the element of translation, his power comes from knowing the law and having a direct impact on the direction of people's lives. He has direct influence in regard to property, making him able to give and take away crucial elements of his clients' lives, steering their course as God's hand steers Constance. Constance declares obedience to God in a show of trust in his guidance. She does not speak much dialogue in this tale, but she went down towards the ship fully obedient to the will of Christ, and kneeling on the shore said, "Welcome, Lord, thy word forevermore." This obedience to God is masking the obedience to the man of law, who is the voice through which her story is told. Since she is a gloss text, she is fully at the whim of the person composing the gloss. The man of law has created a character who is completely at his will and can be deliberately used in the story to present his message. She states loyalty to thy word, drawing attention to the aspect of text. In the context of the story, in the act of storytelling, the word where her loyalty lies is the man of laws. One of the only times he gives her specific dialogue in this tale is to honor him and to increase his power, the power of the written word. As described in the prologue, the man of law presents himself as someone who wields more power and influence than he does in reality. In this tale, he strives to compare himself to God and demonstrate his knowledge of God's secrets due to his skills in glossing texts. Chaucer intends for the reader to acknowledge this contradiction in his character through the content of his tale. He presents this grand, lengthy tale of morality, but the woman it centers around has no substance. We can see that when men believe they have unlocked unknown knowledge of God through glossing, they attempt to transform it into a great source of power, but they have simply fabricated their own tales. Thank you.